Once upon a time, in a small village surrounded by tall mountains and deep forests, there lived a little girl named Ella. She was only 10 years old but known for her bravery and kind heart. She lived with her parents and younger brother Leo. They were not wealthy, but they were happy, living in a cozy cottage at the edge of the village. Joy and contentment filled their simple lives, and every day began with smiles. One bright summer morning, Ella woke up to the sound of birds singing. The sun was shining through her window, casting a warm glow across her room. She stretched and smiled, feeling peaceful and hopeful for the day ahead. But soon, her happiness turned into concern when her mother gently told her that their father had to travel to the nearby town for work and wouldn't be back until the next day. Ella had always felt safe and secure with her father around, but now she felt a small, unsettling worry creeping into her heart. As the day went on, everything seemed normal. Ella and Leo played outside, running through the meadows and chasing butterflies. They laughed, their voices echoing with joy, as they tried to catch the colourful insects that flitted around them. Their mother worked in the garden, humming softly. The village felt as peaceful as ever. But as the sun began to set, the sky turned dark and thick clouds gathered over the mountains, casting a shadow over the village. A storm was coming, and with it, a sense of unease. The wind began to howl, and the first drops of rain started to fall. Ella and Leo ran inside just as thunder rumbled in the distance. Ella could see the anxiety on her mother's face as she closed the windows and lit a candle. The storm grew stronger, the wind roared louder, and the rain pounded against the roof, creating a cacophony of frightening sounds. Suddenly, there was a loud knock on the door. The sound was startling, and Ella's mother froze for a moment, her eyes wide with fear. "Who could it be in such a storm?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Ella looked at her mother and felt a fear herself. What if it was something dangerous? But despite her fear, a spark of courage lit up inside her. Ella stood up, her small frame looking even smaller in the dim light. "I'll check, Mama," she said, her voice steady but her heart racing. Her mother shook her head, but Ella was already walking toward the door. Her hands trembled slightly, and she took a deep breath to calm the fluttering in her chest. Slowly, she opened the door, peering out into the storm. Standing outside was an old woman, drenched from head to toe. She looked frail and weak, shivering violently as she tried to smile at Ella. Sadness and desperation were etched into the lines of her face. "Please, dear, can I come in? I've lost my way in the storm," the old woman said in a trembling voice. Ella felt a surge of compassion and sympathy. Without hesitating, she called to her mother, "Mama, she needs help." Her mother came to the door and, though still cautious, welcomed the old woman inside. The stranger stepped in, dripping water onto the floor, her face softening with relief, and Ella's mother handed her a warm blanket and guided her to a seat by the fire. The old woman's hands shook as she wrapped the blanket around herself. She closed her eyes for a moment, soaking in the warmth, her face showing a mixture of weariness and comfort. "Thank you, kind souls," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. Not many would open their doors to a stranger in a storm like this. Ella watched the old woman closely, her own emotions swirling inside her: curiosity, concern, and a lingering sense of familiarity. There was something mysterious about this woman, but also something comforting. After a while, the old woman spoke again, her voice soft and gentle despite the storm raging out. "I was once young and brave, just like you, dear child," she said, her eyes gleaming with a mixture of nostalgia and sadness. "Many years ago, I lived in a village just like this one, but life has taken me on a long journey." Ella leaned forward, feeling a strange sense of connection. "What happened to you?" she asked softly, her voice filled with both eagerness and sympathy. The old woman's smile was faint, a bittersweet smile that seemed to hide a lifetime of sorrow and wisdom. "Life can be full of storms, both outside and inside," she said quietly. "But the bravest thing you can do is keep your heart open, even when you're afraid." Ella felt the words deeply. A strange warmth blossomed in her chest, mingling with the fear and uncertainty she had felt earlier. She realized that bravery wasn't just about facing dangers, but also about being kind and helping others, even when the world seemed. The storm continued through the night, but inside the little cottage the fire burned bright, and the warmth of kindness filled the room. Ella sat by the old woman, listening as she told stories of faraway lands and adventures. The old woman's voice, full of melancholy and hope, soothed Ella's earlier fears. As the night wore on, Ella felt a deep sense of peace and strength. She had been brave, not just for herself but for someone in need. By morning, the storm had passed, and the sun shone brightly once again. The old woman stood at the door, ready to leave. She looked at Ella and smiled a smile filled with pride and tenderness. "Thank you for your kindness," she said softly, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears of gratitude. Ella watched her disappear down the road, her heart swelling with a mix of happiness and sadness. She felt a sense of pride for facing her fear and learning that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is offer a hand when others need it. As she turned back toward the cottage, she smiled, knowing that no matter what storms came her way, she would face them with both courage and kindness. As Ella walked back to the cottage, the warmth of the morning sun touched her face, and a deep sense of fulfillment filled her heart. She had faced her fears, embraced kindness, and learned that even in the darkest storms, compassion could light the way. With a final glance toward the road where the old woman had disappeared, Ella whispered to herself, "No matter what life brings, I will always be brave and kind." The days passed. Ella's courage and kindness continued to grow, inspiring others in the village. She knew that bravery wasn't just about being strong, but also about having a heart full of love and hope. If you enjoyed this story and felt inspired by Ella's bravery, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us bring more heartwarming stories filled with emotions, courage, and kindness. Stay tuned for more adventures that touch the heart, and always remember true bravery lies in how we treat others, even in life's toughest moments.